Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's going to be another behind the scenes look because there's stuff going on with all three cars at the moment. Yes, I'm going to have to give you an update and do a little bit of work on the DB9. I'm going to have to give you an update on the Mercedes because it's got some things we need to actually address, but we probably won't be working on them today. And then of course, well, we're going to get stuck into the Supra because there is a major amount of detective work. We're going to have to unravel the mystery of what's going on. And yeah, that's going to be a hell of a task. For now, let me get changed into some work clothes, pull these two front cars out, and we'll get into everything that's going on. Let's go. Okay, let's begin with the Vellere because in the last episode, you would have seen me take out the factory backup Siren. And guess what? I got to put it back in again now. You see, this car actually is going into the workshop tomorrow. And guess what? I have not got the replacement part to put into it. So we're going to have to put the backup one back into it because I don't want errors on the dash when the MOT inspector is looking at it. Yeah, it shouldn't matter. They should pass it. It wouldn't be a problem. I just don't want it there because they are finicky. And we've spoken dozens of times about how corrupt the MOT system is here and how you can easily get done by it. So I want to give them as little opportunity to screw me on this car as possible. So one of the other ways to ensure that you don't get done over by a dodgy MOT is, well, you give them other work. And that's exactly what we're doing with this car. Now, I don't like playing around with coil springs, and it's convenient to let them do it because then they've got the work and they're more likely to pass the car through an MOT. I know in theory that's not how it works. In reality, it is. That's just actual real world realities versus legalities. In the legal world, no, that can't happen. That would never happen. But in the real world, it does. There are a ton of MOT shops which will not pass your car unless they're getting some viable work out of it. So I'm throwing them two pieces of viable work with this car. Number one, the coil spring, and number two, they're gonna patch the rear tire for me. And of course, they will charge me for the MOT. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will have a clean MOT tomorrow. However, to ensure that definitely happens, well, I'm gonna have to put the backup Siren back on this car. Now, as soon as I put it back on, it's probably gonna be a bit of a parasitic drain. I don't think it'll be a problem for one day because it's been on this car obviously for ages. It would have been doing it for a while. I think we'll be okay. We'll make sure this thing's absolutely charged up on the trickle charger before we put it in, and it should be fine. Same with the tire. The tire pressure loss is, we're talking 1 PSI every 2 months. It's a very slow leak. So they're gonna have that off whilst the car's on the ramp and patch that tire with it. Now, before I can put the backup battery and Siren into the car, well, kind of need to put it back together again. Yes, I pulled it apart. And I did that because, well, I knew I wasn't gonna get the part in time. Even though they told me I should have the part today, it's not here. I'm getting used to that now. So many people just say, yeah, no problem, we'll have it for you tomorrow. And then it's weeks away. So this part is probably weeks away. So I thought, well, if we're gonna put it back in the car and it's gonna crackle and carry on, well, maybe I can silence it. So I pulled it apart in the hope that, well, that might be the case. I'm not sure I can. It's an interesting unit. It is literally a foreign unit that Aston has bought, and they've literally created their own mounting bracket to try and cover it up. This is what it should actually look like. Now, not exactly like this. I've actually put some muffling over this. So I've put some thick vinyl and cardboard and stuff to try and silence that down a little bit. And I've also done the same inside the housing here. But this is not an Aston unit. It was never built for Aston, never got anything to do with Aston. Aston took this thing and said, how do we make this thing fit? Well, you make your own housing for it and you stick it in the worst place possible. So that's exactly what they did. So I need to put this thing back together and put it back in the car again. Then make sure I've got enough charge in the car because this thing's going in first thing in the morning. And fingers crossed, we won't see any parasitic drain and the whole thing will just work. So for now, let's get on with putting this thing back together and getting it back in the car. Let's go. Okay, now that I've got the part back together, I've got to put the fuses back in because I took a bunch of these out and who knows, maybe they're throwing the alert. So we're going to plug all these back in and then see what happens. Okay, we've plugged the fuses back in now and it didn't do a damn thing. We've still got the dash warning And that makes sense because we don't have the component on. So now we're going to plug back in the unit and hopefully that clears it. We'll be back where we started. And fingers crossed, this thing will have shut up and be quiet so that I can get through the garage work tomorrow and we don't have to hear a damn thing. But now I'm going to plug the unit back on. Let's get on with it. Let's go. Okay, I've put the backup battery Siren with its backup battery back in the car. So all is exactly as it was, with the exception that we've kind of muffled it all up. So hopefully we won't see it. It's not making any sounds right now. The car is dead quiet. Really good sign. How long that's going to last, I don't know. All it's got to do is last tomorrow. We're going to start it, see if we've got any error messages. If we do, well, I'll get the code scanner out and clear the codes and see if that does it. If it doesn't, we'll take it from there. Then I can sort of put it away, put it on the trickle charger in preparation for tomorrow. Oh, and the only last thing to do is declutter the car. Okay, so we're running through the startup sequence to see what happens. No error message at the moment. That's an excellent sign. So it does say that it's picked up the components being plugged back in. That's good. Let's give it a fire up. No messages. All looks pretty good. So that's been semi-successful, although that part is in there temporarily. Okay, the car is now decluttered, taken everything out of it, ready to go to the shop tomorrow. But I do have to check the tire pressures, particularly this one, because we know this is getting repaired tomorrow. It's going to get patched, so I'm going to make sure it's at least up to some level of drivability, and it should be. I expect this thing to sort of be 30 odd PSI, but we'll bring it up to about 36 PSI. So let me get the pump on it, and then we're done with that car. We can bring it in here, and we can talk about the other cars. Okay, it's 7 a.m. and we're taking the Vellere off for its MOT and also some work. So obviously we're getting the coil spring done. We're also getting the tire patched. There might be a couple of other things, but I think that's it for now. We're going to get this thing off there. It takes me about an hour to get there. That's the curse of finding a decent place. So I'm going to get this thing fired up. We're going to get on the way. It's a bit of a boring drive, so not much to show you, but I'll be back in just a moment and we'll start talking about the other cars. Let's go. And just like that, the DB9 is gone. Vellere is currently in the garage having its MOT done and that little bit of work. And I figured with the garage free, well, we'll try and bring the Supra in now and see what we can work out with it, because it's a problem and we need to sort it out. So let's get on with the Supra. Okay, let's just go back in time and talk about the actual problem with this car so you can understand what I'm trying to work out here. We go back many months ago. This car was running fine. Yes, it has suspension issues, but it was running fine. The engine was running fine. We were having no problems with starting or operating the engine. That was all working brilliantly. But because we weren't driving the car much, I was keeping it on trickle charger. Not all the time, pretty much periodically, every second or third day, I would just put it on trickle charge and leave it on for a few hours, make sure the battery would be all topped up, and then undo it. Now the problem started. You see, I came out to this car one day, and what I found was that the trickle charger was saying fault, error, and it was basically saying could not charge the car. Now, as I saw this fault walking up to the car, I thought I'd try and unlock it. Well, it didn't work. Nothing worked. The entire car was dead. Dead, completely dead. I then tested the battery, put a multimeter on it, and the battery was at 1 volt, completely dead, like it was destroyed. So with the destroyed battery, I thought, well, I'll just get another battery. I went out, got another battery, and it changed nothing with one exception. That exception was the headlights came on. Yes, the headlights actually came on. Now this is where it gets funny, because the car's not on. The headlights are not switched on, the key's not even in it, and yet the headlights came on with the new battery in the car. So at this point, things are starting to get weird. So the next thing I figure is, well, what is going on here? Have I blown any fuses? So I checked and found the alt fuse in the main fuse box. That's the big fuse, the big one, the 100 amp alt fuse, it's blown. So I think to myself, well, I'll get another alt fuse and we'll plug it in. Yeah, that didn't go well. I took the battery out, put in this new alt fuse, and then as I plugged the battery back in, it was a God almighty smack, and the damn thing blew again. That alt fuse went off, and there was a huge spark from the battery. In fact, it was so big, it actually took a small chunk out of the terminal of the battery. So very clearly, something's gone very wrong. Now, given that it was the alt fuse that's blowing, and it's a huge amount of current that was being drawn, well, I figured maybe the alternator was at fault here. Maybe something gone wrong and the alternator was damaged. So I took out the alternator, tested it, and yes, that alternator was faulty. So we went and got ourselves a new alternator. New alternator arrives, I plug it back in, I put in a new alt fuse, and as I'm connecting up the battery, pop, the damn thing goes again, and again with some serious power behind it. This is not a little spark, this is a serious crunch. So very clearly, there's something really, really wrong. So at that point, I checked every single fuse in this car, and they're all fine with the exception of the alt fuse. The rest of it all seems okay. All the other circuits have not blown. There's no indication of any problems with them. There's no indication that there's been overloading in any of those systems. It's as though there's just one or two systems that is causing massive load in this car to go. And that sort of brings us to where we are now. Okay, so what I've been doing is under the bonnet here, I've been testing various parts of the car with my multimeter. What I've been doing is looking for shorts across the battery, across the alternator, across the fuses, basically just checking everything. And the damn problem is nothing. Everything's fine. Literally everything I'm testing under here is correct. I've actually had the fuse box itself completely out. We've pulled this thing out. We've tested it from the back. We've tested it from the front. But what I can do now is test the starter motor, because that's where this is all starting to look. There's just such a big, huge load on this. Everything else is fine. So we're going to go look at the starter motor. But to get the starter motor out, well, I've got to get this side skirt off down here. And yeah, it's not been off for a while. I'm terrified what we're going to find behind it. I've just taken the screws out. There were screws on, a couple in there. There's two at the back there. There was a few around on the inside of the door. I'm going to get this off now, and then we're going to hopefully be able to get under the car to check the starter motor. Now, there is one problem here, and that could be that I may not be able to physically get under the car even with these side skirts removed. It's not been lowered. This car is normal height, but there may just not be enough room. So what I've done is I've actually gone and created myself some lift blocks for this car. So I've got one right here, and what I basically did was take the existing blocks and I've cut a notch into them. That is so that we can get them under on the pinch points of this car if we need to get the ramp under. Of course, the ramp won't go under this car with the side skirts on. So we've got to get the side skirts off, see if we can reach the starter motor, because I know exactly where it is. If we can't, then I've got to put it up on the ramp. For now, let's get this block off. Let's see how we go, and hopefully we can get somewhere with this. Let's go. Okay, damn it, I can't reach the starter motor. I forgot just how buried in there that thing is. So we're gonna have to put it on the ramp. So I am getting out the big main ramp right now. We're gonna put the car on that with the new blocks for it. Hopefully this all goes without issue, and hopefully we just get up. All I wanna do is just test the starter motor, because it's the next likely culprit, simply because it's one of a few systems that can make that kind of draw. I mean, we're talking big fuse amount. We're talking big current that's going through, and there's just not a lot on this car that can do that, other than things like the starter motor and the alternator. Now, obviously we'll keep searching, but for now, it's the likely culprit. So let's get this car raised up. Fingers crossed we can get to the starter motor and just simply test it. And for people who saw the previous videos, yes, I shouldn't be doing this right now. My leg is all strapped up. I've got torn ligaments, but what else can I do? This has got to be done. So we're gonna get on with it. I may look a little awkward, but we're getting on with it. There we go, check it out. Supra is in the air. Now that's the first time I've had the Supra up on this ramp. I'm gonna let it just sit for a little bit because yeah, it's not a nice feeling. It really isn't. That thing's a lot higher than it looks on camera. I'm gonna show you, when you're standing next to it, it's really high. And I just wanna make sure the whole thing is sat perfectly. It doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It doesn't wanna move anywhere, but I'm just gonna let it rest for a bit, make sure all the stress, all the strains on the ramps properly, nothing's kicking around. If it is gonna let go, it's probably gonna let go sooner than later. It's not, it's gonna be fine, but it's still, you just need that little psychological barrier to say, okay, yeah, this thing's safe to get under it. So for now, I'm gonna give this thing a bit of a break. I'm gonna leave it this way. The nature of these ramps are really good. They actually have locking components in here. So what it means is you can actually leave the car up like this indefinitely. You do not need to put it any higher up. These locking arms, what they do is they actually lock the whole thing like a truss. There's no hydraulic pressure on the system at all. You can actually unplug the ramp entirely right now and just leave the car indefinitely like this. Now, I'm not gonna do that. Like I said, I'm just gonna leave it for an hour or two, make sure it's all sitting pretty, that it all sits okay, we don't have any issues with it, before I stick my head underneath it, because that's what I gotta do next. For now, we're gonna leave it there. I'm gonna come back to you in a minute. Now, also, just in the last few minutes, this turned up. This is the replacement part for the Vellere. I was waiting on this yesterday, didn't get it, should have been the part that I was putting in the previous video. Instead, we put the old part in, and this is the one that needs to go in instead. What the fuck? Okay, it's supposed to be certified, tested, working, no problems. So why is it making a bit of a rattle? I guess I'm gonna have to open this up now and have a look at it. It might actually be nothing, but who knows? As long as this goes back into the Vellere and make sure the alarm system does not throw a dashboard error anymore, hopefully that will do it. For now, all we can do is try. I'm gonna leave this thing on the ramp. I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna come back to this in just a minute. Now, a few of you might be thinking to yourself, why am I wasting time with all this multimeter crap and this testing stuff? Why not just throw a scanner on it, check the codes? Well, there's a little bit of a problem with this car because this car predates OBD2. Yes, this car is an OBD1 system. It was made before OBD2 even existed. Now, if you want to try and get OBD1 system connectors, plugs, scanners, all that sort of stuff, it's just impossible. I know, I've tried, you can't get the stuff. It is so rare to find any of that anymore. And on top of it, frankly, it's goddamn useless. You can't really get much out of an OBD1 system. It was useful more in shops because shops got the big, expensive, old world OBD1 connectors and they could plug them in on the engine bay. Yes, the main connector for OBD1 on this car is in the engine bay. There is a connector underneath the dash, but it's a round connector and it's really painful. It doesn't work, doesn't give you much information. So trying to get codes off this thing is really hard. They're also very limited. The electronic software on this car, it's just nowhere near the standard of modern cars. There's nowhere near the sensors, nowhere near the detection grade stuff. The electrical system on this car is very, very simple. It's a very mechanical system compared to modern cars. And that's despite this car in its day being considered hyper advanced and very computer controlled. By today's standards, it's an absolute dinosaur. So no, you can't just check the codes. If you really, really want to check what codes are on this car, you can do it by using a paperclip. Yes, a paperclip and connecting two particular pins in the OBD1 dash port, and then it will flash on the dash, the mill light, and the number of flashes indicates the code number. You then got to take the code number and look it up, and you can get what codes have been flashed. And there's ways to get multiple codes out of it doing similar sort of thing. For the most part, as you can tell, it's a waste of time. Your best bet with an old car like this is just go old school detective and start working out what's wrong. Okay, I've had to stop there. I got good news and bad news. And some of it's actually kind of mixed. So I've been through this car and I've checked everything. I've tested the starter motor. I've tested the alternator. I've checked all the main cable wiring. I've been over all the fuses. I can't find anything wrong. I cannot find what is causing this car to have the issue that it's got at the moment. So the plan with this car right now, I'm going to try and get myself an automotive circuit breaker. I'm going to put the circuit breaker between the battery and the main positive terminal post. And it's going to be a low amp one. I'm probably going to try and get a 10, 20 amp. And I should be able to plug the battery in and it will trip it straight away. But I can then at least start pulling fuses one at a time, pulling relays one at a time, and seeing what trips it every time I flip the circuit breaker back. So the idea is to get something on this car that will stop it from blowing up and allow me to work out what system is actually failing. Now, the biggest problem with this is that I'm so far out of my depth with this stuff. This is auto electrical engineering stuff, and god damn, is it a bit of an art and a lot of knowledge required to solve these kind of problems, and I just don't have that. So I'm kind of working backwards on this car. We're going to try and identify the system that's actually causing the fault, because if you think about it, 100 amps is just about as big a possible draw as a car can do. It's huge. It's a massive amount. The only systems that really can are the alternator and the starter motor. They're the only things with fuses at that level. Everything else works on much lower amperage, and none of that's tripped. So when the battery is plugged in, it's pulling 100 amps and it's going straight through the main alt fuse, and nothing else is getting blown. Not one of the others goes. So all of the remaining systems on this car, they're intact. They've not had that amperage blast through them. Even the headlights still work. So something on this car is saying to it, as soon as the battery plugs in, smash all the power straight out of the battery and into something which blows that main alt fuse. So yeah, we're kind of stuffed at the moment. And there's another problem. This is the main alt fuse that I'm talking about. It's rated to 100 amps, and I actually forgot that it has 2 screws that hold it in. They go in at the bottom of it, and I forgot. I thought there was only 1 screw on it, and I tried to pop it off, and because the thing is so fragile, well, unfortunately I broke the casing on it, the housing on it. Technically it still works, the fuse is intact, but the casing is all shot. And given it's 100 amp, you don't really want it open and exposed like that, so I've got to order another one. So we're gonna have to put this car on hold whilst I order another one of these alt fuses, and I order an automotive circuit breaker to go on the car, and then figure out what the hell is going on, pulling stuff one at a time and then switching the circuit breaker on and off. So yeah, this car, we're gonna have to stop for now, and we're gonna have to come back to it once I get those parts. But despite all this mostly bad news, there is good news. The DB9, the Vallere, it's back. It passed its MOT with flying colors. Absolutely flew through it. No advisories, no problems. It is in fantastic condition. We've got our new coil spring at the front, and we've had the tire patched at the rear. And honestly, the driving difference, it's uncanny. That spring must have been broken for a long time, because the steering is spot on now. That thing is driving fantastically. I've not had it out for very long, but it is driving a lot. So now what we need to do is get that thing road ready. It might be MOT and approved, but I pulled everything out of this car before it went into the garage. So I've now got to put it all back, and I've got to put all the trim back on it. So we're going to put the Supra on total hold at the moment, lock it all up, forget about it. We're going to get this thing going fully again and get it back out on the road. So I'm going to do that in another video, because there's a bit to it. For now, I'm going to wind up there. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed any parts of this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you've got any ideas on what that thing is doing, let me know, because this thing's just throwing me a curveball. 100 amp draw, instantaneously the car starts, and I can't find any systems that should be doing it that are broken. So for now, I'm going to wind up on that. Again, thank you so much for watching. Simon out.
love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is